Hiya, Barbie.
Hi, Ken.
You want to go do a podcast?
Sure.
Jump in.
Ladies and gentlemen, hedgehoggers and echidnas, robotniks of all ages, and everyone else, welcome to Binging Barbie. I'm your host, John, and with me I have my co-host. You were never just my sycophant, Jay. You're my host.
Aww.
And joining us once again, we have our special guest host. Come on, Toa. Let's go back to the crab. I've got some fresh avocados. We'll make some guac.
Revenge guac.
Revenge guac. Anyway, this is a podcast about toy media franchises, 2000s nostalgia, and whatever else we want to talk about. And this week we are finishing our series in the live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movies, talking about Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Yeah, that's the number.
Boop,
Yeah.
boop.
New release.
New release.
I'm always curious with these. What were your experiences going to the theater to see this?
Oh, good question. I mean, I went a few weeks later, so it was not like jam packed. It was also the middle of the day, so it was like my group and maybe two other groups, and one of the other groups was like 90% children. But honestly, better movie theater experience than like everybody talking over it. So it was fun.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah,
Good
John, I
energy.
know you had a somewhat disappointing experience.
I wouldn't say disappointing experience. It was just a noticeable experience. So,
Mm.
yeah, I saw it like opening night, first showing with like a bunch of children and parents inside the theater. And, kids are not very quiet. They didn't tell their kids to be quiet. So throughout the entire film, you'd hear like little murmurs and speakings and such. You have like this one kid in like the front of the theater who just in the middle of the film pulls out his like iPad for like 10 minutes and playing whatever game he's got going on. They're running around the theater. Like a fun moment is like at the beginning of the film when like they're doing the whole Sega intro and the music is
Mhm.
building up, and then out of nowhere this chaotic choir of children starts singing Sega along with the music. It was
All right, that's
funny.
actually hype though.
And then there wasn't really much union with the audience until like the post-credit scenes when we finally get to get some characters. So yeah,
Oh goodness.
it was a time. How about you, Jay?
Yeah, I had an interesting experience. So a few weeks before going to see Sonic, I had gone to see I'm Interstellar in IMAX because I live near one of the only IMAX theaters that does film IMAX like on actual film. And that was
Mhm.
because the tickets were sold out for the entire week. So that was the one day I
Oh
could
wow.
go, and it just happened to be this massive snowstorm. So it took me forever driving through the snow to get there. I mean, going there was not bad because we were going slow, and then on the way back, it was quite the adventure. Um, if you haven't driven through snow, it is interesting. So then on my way to Sonic, I was like, okay, I need to see this now since we're doing an episode on it. And guess what? It was another snowstorm. So I had tickets to go to see it in the premium format that my local theater does. But I decided
Ooh.
to, rather than go to the further away theater, I would go to one closer. So I ended up just going standard format and not driving through the snow for probably 40 minutes, accounting for usually it takes me 20 minutes to get there.
Oof.
But yeah, no, the theater itself
Yeah,
was
that's fair.
it wasn't as full as I was hoping, but there were some good reactions from the people there. So there
Okay.
was one person who was very, very into Sonic, and any small, tiny reference he was reacting to very loudly. So that's always fun.
Yeah,
Love that for them.
Yeah.
yeah. Robotnik got most of the laughs in our theater.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah. Anyway, what
But
did
yeah.
you tell us
Context.
about this film?
Yeah, this was released December 2024, directed
Hmm.
by Jeff Fowler once again. Same creative team, written by Pat Casey, Josh Miller, and John Whittington. Cinematography by Brandon Trost, music by Tom Hulkenberg. We've talked about all of these people on previous episodes.
All
They're
right.
I do think it is interesting to note that they keep bringing these same people back, which is kind of cool. Like these people know what they're doing and they enjoy making these, or at least are good at making these and tolerate
Yeah.
making them. So
These three
Yeah, I mean, if
films
it
do
ain't
feel
broke,
consistent. Yeah.
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 All right. Now let's get into the plot. So, 50 years ago, an alien hedgehog named Shadow was discovered by the government agency Gun, and Shadow developed a friendship with Maria, daughter of the project's head scientist, Professor Gerald Robotnik. Was that confirmed?
Isn't
What
it
confirmed?
That she was the daughter of Robotnik?
Yeah,
granddaughter of
granddaughter. Okay,
I
granddaughter
don't.
of old man
Did they
Robotnik?
did they ever state that in the film?
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
some familial relationship.
I was so confused why like this random old guy was like sobbing over the dead child in that flashback scene.
Maybe they
It was
don't
like
confirm it then.
because like that was the only scene they were in together, and like I had never heard any mention that they were related in any way.
It's
Anyway, Maria
okay.
was accidentally killed in an explosion, and Professor Robotnik was taken into custody, and Shadow was frozen in suspended animation. In the present, Shadow wakes up and escapes his prison in Tokyo Bay, wreaking havoc on the city. Gun brings Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles in to deal with the problem, and they are easily bested by Shadow, who escapes. While recovering, Team Sonic are ambushed by Dr. Robotnik's drone, and Commander Walters is killed. As he is dying, Walters entrusts Sonic with half of a mysterious key. Team Sonic are rescued by Agent Stone, who takes them to meet the other Dr. Robotnik, who is just as confused as they are. They agree to team up with their former enemy to track down who sent the drones. And they track down the signal to an abandoned base where they find Shadow and Professor Robotnik, Dr. Robotnik's grandfather. So the Robotniks betray Team Shadow, taking the key and escaping to London. With help from Tom and Maddie, Team Sonic infiltrate Gun headquarters, planning to steal the other half of the key. So the Robotniks and Shadow beat them there, and they take the key, injuring Tom in the process. They use the keys to launch a giant space station with the capability to destroy cities. And Sonic breaks his oath to never use the Chaos Emeralds, using them to fly up to the space station. He and Shadow engage in a battle across the entire globe and in space. And on the space station, Professor Robotnik reveals that he plans to destroy the entire world, and Dr. Robotnik doesn't like that, so he pushes Professor Robotnik into Shadow's chaos energy, where he is killed after a little slap fight between the two. Sonic and Shadow have a heart to heart on the moon, and Shadow realizes that he is wrong to seek revenge and kill everyone. So they team up. Together, they stop the station from destroying the Earth, though slice the moon in half in the process. Take that, Obama. The station is overloaded with chaos energy, so Dr. Robotnik and Shadow pilot it out of the Earth's orbit. And the station explodes, seemingly killing Robotnik and Shadow. And falling back to Earth, Sonic is rescued by Tails and Knuckles. In the mid-credits sequence, Sonic is ambushed by several Metal Sonics, but is rescued by Amy the Hedgehog. And in the post-credit sequence, Shadow retrieves one of his cubs from a crater. So, yeah, that is the film.
Yeah, it's a very complex web of like betrayals and loyalties that I kind of knew in general where it was heading, but I never knew moment to moment who was going to be allied with who.
Yeah, they play around with it a lot, especially at the beginning where when they pair up uh our Robotnik, young Robotnik with the Sonic team. And I was like, "Oh, is this what they're going to do?" I was expecting that was going to be like, "Oh, they're going to do this for, a majority of the film and then Robotnik's going to betray them at the end and be the big villain." And it was like no, they're just hanging out for a little bit, then the betrayal, but he doesn't, like, he ends the movie being on their side again. So it was like, okay, interesting. I thought the plot in that regard, well, still, like, it definitely still had its cliches, but it was complex enough to where I was like, oh, okay. I don't know exactly what's going to happen, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that this is kind of structured on sort of three interlocking character arcs. We have Sonic, who obviously he's Sonic, we know him, and Robotnik, we know him, and then we also have Shadow, and their arcs all kind of mirror each other in a weird way, even though they're on different sides at different points. But they all are tempted by the desire for power or revenge or something else, but end up choosing their connection to humanity over their desire for petty revenge.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good point. Good way of looking at it.
But yeah, I definitely was not expecting how much Robotnik, Dr. Robotnik, I think the distinction they make is that the younger one is doctor and the older one is professor.
Okay.
But yeah, Dr. Robotnik is. I wasn't expecting him to be a sort of pseudo protagonist here, where we are actually tracking his emotional arc, as opposed to just having him
Yeah.
be like a villain, supporting villain, or yeah,
Yeah, he was definitely a lot more of a character in this film, where in previous films, especially the first one, less so in the second one, he's kind of just been the, like, comic relief villain, where he's just kind of moving the plot along, but, like, we don't really care too much about him. He's a bowling pin. He's there to be knocked down.
yeah,
Um, but in this film, it was like, okay, he's actually like a real character. Emotion is, like, from the get go a big part of him in this one. Um, and he actually has some really solid, like, growth to him, which is fun.
yeah. There's this is it feels character driven in a way that the other movies maybe haven't felt nearly as character driven. Not that it's like super character driven. There's still a lot of plot they are going through, but we get a better sense for the different emotions of the characters as they're going on and how those are influencing the events of the story.
Yeah.
Sure.
What
Yeah.
did you think, John?
So I don't think I ever saw any of the twists as twists. They were all things that was like, okay, oh, okay, they're gonna do this narrative and this narrative and this narrative, and so when the twist happens, I wasn't at all surprised by any of them. It's like, oh, okay, they're gonna be doing this. I
Hmm.
felt that a lot of the story and the plot was by the numbers, but they were using higher numbers than like the first two films. So it's a better quality of numbers than just your simple first entry film. So I don't know if that
I
makes
think
Yeah.
that's a
sense at
very
all.
good way to put it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that is like we are getting redemption arcs and corruption arcs and all of these different yeah, the as you're saying, the numbers are higher. It's still
Yeah, the
big by
betrayals,
numbers, but
the father figures being injured, the dead children. Uh,
it feels very anime in a weird way.
hmm,
Yeah. I think that's,
Which
like, a lot of Sonic fans, I think, latch on to Sonic because it has that kind of anime esque feeling to it in a lot of ways. Obviously, Sonic is made in Japan, and so there's going to be a lot of cultural similarities just weaved into it. But I think, the story arcs are very reminiscent of, like, animes that are out there, along with, like, the characters are just literally just a very colorful cast, and that is a
yeah,
very common trope within, like, anime too, with hair
hmm,
colors. And
you're
so
a
it has a
colorful
lot of those
bunch.
vibes. Exactly. Has a lot of those vibes without being like strictly anime. There are a few anime adaptations. Um, but I think that's why it stands out so much, is because it is so similar to some stories that are great, but is so unique in its own way too.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see them add in all of these different elements to the live action series, which we haven't really seen up to this point quite in this way. Like the first movie is very much like a road trip movie, which
Hmm.
Yeah,
I don't know what the history of the road trip movie is in general, but it is this very like Hollywood genre. Um, and then the second one is more of like a globe trotting adventure, Indiana Jones type, ancient temples and all of that kind of stuff. Whereas, yeah,
yeah,
this one is anime. Don't know,
yeah,
don't know how else to quantify it, but it is. It's like, I mean, it's still like the globe trotting adventure. You're looking for artifacts, but there's more of a focus on the relationships between the characters, and then like their power levels and the big fights that are going to be going on, the
yeah.
betrayals, obviously, that kind of stuff as well.
This one is also kind of like a spy film too, in
Yeah.
a lot of the
In a
action
weird way, yeah.
sequences. Yeah, it's they've got that whole heist sequence, which is
Yes.
a lot of fun. Although, like, I feel like that sequence was kind of like a contrived story
Yeah.
point, just to make sure that like Tom had something to do.
Yeah.
Uh, but it was still fun, and they used Tom in a good way, both as like a okay, well, he is the only he and his wife are the only human looking characters, so they're the best to be able to sneak in, but also him being like supposedly almost killed by Shadow does bring a really interesting like plot point, and furthers Sonic's development, and kind of fleshes him out in more of a 3D uh,
Yeah.
way.
So here's a question. How does Knuckles break into the facility?
He
Glass,
punches it.
break
Yeah,
glass,
but how did he get past the force field?
He punched
break
it.
glass.
I don't know. It's like if he could just
You weren't wrong
break
to ask the
into
question.
he breaks straight into the vault. It's like, "Hey, why wasn't that the first thing to do?" Like
Well,
how does he know that's where the vault is?
yeah.
It, it was I don't know. It was just like this thing that happened. It's like, okay, I'm gonna forget about this moment. But it's like, okay,
To be
I don't need to
yeah,
question this moment. It was just like we needed him to do something here.
to be fair, they like set it up as like, oh yeah, the humans are gonna do all the work. We've got the Robotniks, we got uh Tom's family, they're doing things, and then like ultimately it was just like, okay, they've had their fun. Let's bring the like, rodents with nuclear power in and let them clean up. We don't need to write anymore. We'll just
Sure.
let the animators work on it.
Apparently, they can all breathe in space. I was not aware of that.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, that's also that. Yep, that's a
Sonic
thing.
will drown, but he can also breathe in space. They're not even
It's all
in
about the
like even when
water.
they're not even in the supersonic mode. He's just regular Sonic, just talking in space.
Just chilling on the moon.
Yeah,
That one
maybe
was
it's
like, okay, well, I have to like subvert my expectations. Like they're breathing, they're talking in space. Okay, I get it. Whatever.
I
This is
guess at that
fun.
point he has the Chaos Emeralds, so
But at
presumably
also
that would
at that point they like left or something.
okay.
I don't know. I'm misremembering. It's been a few weeks.
So I am curious, John, since one of your complaints with the previous Sonic media has been the focus on the human characters. How did you feel about this one, where the human characters, like specifically Tom and Maddie, are not really in this much outside of the beginning, a little bit in the middle, and then a little bit at the end?
I liked it more that they weren't there. I didn't like it as much when they were there. I when they were trying to do some sort of antagonistic thing with Kristen Ritter, I was confused. And then she just left the film And I was like, okay, we'll never see them again. Anyway, humans don't care about them. They're not the thing here. But there is a lot of like non-human stuff in here that I enjoyed. So yeah,
Yeah. So you bring up a good point with the the lady general person, military lady, that gun. Like they really did set it up like, oh, she might be evil, so we got to make sure that she doesn't have it, the keys too. And then there was no point at which that was proved or really felt like the case. She was just kind of like doing her job. And I get that the Sonic characters, like this Team Sonic, like they were given the key as like the dying breath, kind of like, here, guard this, let nobody have it, kind of thing. But then they kind of messed that one up. So
Yeah.
I think that's on them. Just very confusing stuff.
Yeah, I do wonder. I feel like they're setting something up with her, and maybe it's just that Kristen Ritter is a relatively big name to bring in just for one movie to show up and do some like random stuff and then disappear unceremoniously halfway through. So I do wonder if they're planning a bigger arc for her. But yeah, no, her role in this movie is I do kind of like that her exit from the film is Tom is disguised as the general and she's like, "What? You're supposed to be dead." And he's like, "No, I'm actually alive. Leave the stuff here." And she's like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And she just walks out of the movie. It adds something to her character that like, no, she isn't actually evil. She's just, as you were saying, she's trying to do her job.
Yeah.
But that is definitely like a weakness of the film, that it doesn't quite know what to do with her.
right. And like the entire filmmaking process is like framing her as like the antagonist from like the shots, from the
Yeah,
music.
yeah,
She walks out of the film. It's like, huh, like where's their reaction to the evil space laser in space? We don't go back to them at all. They don't bother to help or try to do anything. It's like, huh,
Yeah.
why? What happened to them? Did we run out of time and we're just like, we don't care to go back to them. Let's just stick to the Sonic team. No,
Gun
I
just got petty. They're like, hey,
yeah,
you
I
caused this
got
problem. This is on you now.
so
Sorry.
much whiplash when she showed up on screen for the first time. I was like, "What, Kristen Ritter? What's she doing in Sonic?"
yeah.
That's
I was
like this
surprised
is
as well.
so unlike her. Like casting wise, it's like, why is she doing in a Sonic film? That
I
doesn't
mean,
make sense to me.
not really, because she got her start in more comedy stuff, I think.
Well, I know her mainly for her like darker characters
Yeah,
from
for Jessica
from
Jones
Jessica
and Breaking
Jones and
Bad.
her small
Big one for
jaunt
me.
in Breaking Bad. So
Yeah, I was thinking, oh, I was not expecting her to show up here before she showed up in another Marvel movie.
Yeah. True.
But no, I was excited to see her, even though I do hope they do something more with her character. I don't know what exactly future plans for the Sonic franchise are going to be, but I feel like she would be fun to add into the mix.
I mean, who's behind the robot Sonics? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah,
Fair
That
good
point.
was like
question.
that was a weird mid credit scene.
True.
It was just like a
I mean,
whole scene unrelated to the film. I wonder how they're gonna treat Amy when we go to the fourth film. It's like, is she just part of the team now, or is she just? Are they gonna reintroduce
I
that
feel like,
scene somehow?
yeah. I wonder if they just like they made that scene as a we'll figure it out later.
I mean, that's what they did with Tails in the first
Yeah.
film
Yeah.
credit scene. So
They're like, oh, we'll figure something out.
Shadow as well, I guess.
I do want to say, I don't know where else to talk about this, but I love the telenovela stuff
Yeah.
with Robotnik watching this dumb telenovela starring the
Uh,
bartender from Venom 3.
Nice.
okay.
Weird thing of an actor who isn't like super well known, but is showing up in two blockbusters that are in theaters at the same time. Also, both third entries in their franchises. Anyway,
Whoa, conspiracy.
yeah. No,
Oh,
it was just funny to see this, and then obviously the foreshadowing of having the same actor playing two different roles, and the drama and the betrayal and the suspense. I
Mhm.
love anytime telenovelas show up in other media because they're just so big and emotional, and you can get away with so much emotion and adding that in sort of like a cheeky way to the movie.
Yeah, and I think too, it works as like a contrast to where they're so like cheesy that anything else by comparison does not look as cheesy. So in
Yeah,
this case, them introducing another Robotnik who looks almost exactly the same with uh initially seemingly similar goals, that is related by blood, is like a, oh, that is just a, you know, that's a soap opera trope right there. But because they introduced the soap opera earlier, it's like, okay, yeah, this is less ridiculous than that somehow.
yeah, yeah.
yeah. They even had like a little fun fourth wall break, where it's
Yes.
like, oh yeah, it's like two actors playing the same character by the look of the
Yeah.
camera. Yeah.
I wonder if that moment was like a bit like they were maybe pushing things a little too far, but I had
Maybe.
fun.
Yeah.
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 I was in the theater like suddenly very aware that I was watching a movie,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
I had fun with it.
Right. Yeah. The whole Jim Carrey thing in this one remind me a lot of like a series of unfortunate events. His film. I remember the marketing for that
Mm.
film, the trailer specifically. It's like Jim Carrey and Jim Carrey and Jim Carrey playing all these different characters. So yeah.
uh,
Yeah,
Speaking
I
of
feel like I have
characters,
yeah, I
oh,
have more
never
to
mind.
say about the characters than the story here. But I really like the story. Again, as John was saying, it's like there isn't anything revolutionary here, but it's painting by numbers with a higher set of numbers. I like that
Yeah.
metaphor. So I'm just gonna run with it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I gave this a 3.5 out of 5 for the story.
Hmm. I I gave it a 3 mainly because I it wasn't really something that I was drawn to. It's like, yeah, higher set of numbers, but it's still a set of numbers that's like, yeah, yeah, I've seen it before. It's fine. It does a good job. I There you go.
That's fair. I give it a 3.5 just because this is the only one that I've watched that I actually felt like I got lost in the story. All
Hmm.
of the others, I was keenly aware that I was watching the movie as I was watching the movie. And this movie definitely had moments where it broke the fourth wall and is like, hey, you're currently watching a movie. But especially as it got into like uh past the midway point in the film, I was just like, okay, I'm in this. I'm not even paying attention to the fact that this is a movie because I'm just enjoying it so much. So it is definitely not peak storytelling. So I don't think I could give it above a 3.5, but I'm satisfied with the 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, onto the characters. Sonic, our hero here. This is really the furthest we've seen him pushed, just emotionally, at least that I can
Yeah.
recall in the franchise.
No, I mean in the first movie when Tom said he's not his best friend, that's probably the most emotion I've seen otherwise. He gets real
Yeah,
scrunched up and he's like angry for some reason. Similar
but yeah,
energy.
yeah. Here though, we're getting like, I don't know. Maybe it's just that this whole thing has a very different feel to it than the other two. But we're getting a more intense Sonic here, and he's having to deal with a lot of emotions that we haven't seen him deal with. Specifically, once Tom is in danger, and he's realizing, oh, this is not a fun adventure anymore. This is serious.
I got a lot of third film energy while watching this, which it is a third film. But
Yeah.
like, the third entries of so many things are usually like darker characters are like pushed to the brink. Even in television shows, they like to make the third season the darker one. Like the stuff that comes to mind is of course Spider-Man 3 when he gets the black suit, or Pirates 3. That's a whole thing. Uh any CW show, season 3 is always like the dark season.
True.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
also just yeah. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing. Good.
Okay. Yeah. No, I love seeing Sonic having to deal with this realization that he and Shadow have more in common than he was initially thinking. And not in a like, we're not so different, you and I, even though I do think they kind of come close to saying that
Oh
specifically,
yeah.
but sort of the realization for Sonic that like he has up to this point been very lucky in how he has ended up in a pretty stable situation, and that was not necessarily a given.
Yeah. Yeah, and that who he is, like they really harp on like who you are is defined by both your actions and your choices, but also by your upbringing.
Yeah.
And Sonic and Shadow were just dealt two different hands. And I think Sonic from the get-go kind of assumes, "Oh, well, I'm who I am just cuz that's who I am. I'm just built different," kind of thing. But throughout it he kind of realizes, "Oh, no, I've just had, I've had my struggles, but I've kind of had it good overall."
Yeah,
And I
and we
think
see when
that's
he's
like,
actually like pushed as far as Shadow has been pushed, he also kind of gives in a little bit to the darkness. He goes for the Chaos Emeralds, even though that is
mhm,
something that was previously said he wasn't ever going to do. It's okay. The whole thing with the Chaos Emeralds is kind of weird because it's like they're making a big deal about like Sonic breaking this oath that he has promised to Tails and Knuckles, but then it ends up being like the right thing to do, which
yeah.
I don't think is a bad thing for that to be what it is. I don't think the film quite squares that those different things with its overall message.
Yeah, it is a little weird because, like, looking at it, obviously, hindsight by the end of the film, it's like, how would they have done it if he didn't do that? I'm
Yeah.
still unsure of how, like, Tails and Knuckles got to space because they did. They just showed up. But as soon as he started, like, flying up towards the space station, I'm like, oh, yeah, they definitely needed the Chaos Emeralds for this. And I realized his motivation for using it was not necessarily the most heroic, but like at that point they were running out of options.
Yeah.
So it is
I
presented
do.
weird.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. You were finishing a thought there.
Oh, I was just gonna say I do appreciate that. Like a lot of movies have the like there's a powerful artifact and two of the heroes fight over it for some reason kind of thing. And there was a little bit of that, but I really like that in the end it was Knuckles being like, you know what? No, part of the oath is that I trust you. And I know you're going through it right now, but I'm still choosing to trust you, even if you're not choosing to trust me. And I was like, okay, very nice. I like that.
Yeah.
Very wholesome.
Yeah, it is a very interesting way to take it. Um and yeah, no, the emotions of it do ring true. Of you understand at that point why Sonic is wants to use the Chaos Emeralds and why that maybe isn't the best decision for him to make. But then you do also understand Knuckles. He is being put in this difficult situation, and maybe on a certain level, Knuckles also knows that like we aren't actually going to be able to solve this without help. So
Yeah.
maybe we do need to bring these in, but also that goes against everything I stand for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do kind of wish they had tinkered away a little bit more at those specific scenes to try and make those a little bit fit a little bit better with the overall messages of the film, but I do think like the emotions work there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then it's all leading to this really interesting sort of heart to heart that Sonic and Shadow have on the moon, which I read that as it's as much about Sonic coming to terms with things as it is him saying these things for Shadow's benefit.
Hmm.
Because he's talking
Yeah.
all about how like you need to focus on the connection to people and doing the right thing and doing good, and being true and kind in your heart, not losing sight of who you are. And
Yeah.
I think he say that in the way that like the best way to learn something is to teach someone else how to do it.
Hmm.
Sonic is learning this lesson at the same time he's teaching Shadow this lesson.
Yeah, definitely. I think that like makes the lesson feel less forced too, which I really
Yeah.
appreciate.
Yeah, it's the hero and the, I guess, anti-hero having a connection there. And yeah, you get to the point where it's like, okay, Sonic can actually kind of speak, even though Shadow went through so much more than Sonic has. Sonic can kind of speak from a similar place.
Right.
Now we do
Yeah.
need to talk about Shadow.
Whoop whoop.
He is so I love the term Byronic hero, which is reference to Lord Byron, a popular writer and poet who just like embodied in his writing this very specific kind of character who's like the dark and brooding and has this tortured past, but secretly deep down he's actually good. And I mean, shows up so much throughout literature. I've been watching through the Twilight movies for our upcoming series, so I think of Edward Cullen as a very typical Byronic hero. Batman is
Hmm.
often very Byronic, like especially the Robert Pattinson
Knuckles was the
Tito.
one from the last film.
True.
Yeah,
Yeah.
though he doesn't quite have like the brood. I guess he does have a bit of the brooding.
He did the last
Yeah.
film,
Yeah,
not so much this film.
He kind of got the Drax treatment where like he's introduced and he's very like brooding and warrior, and then the next film he's kind of just like, oh yeah, that's comic relief over there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or Gimli. I guess Gimli doesn't have like the tortured past in that same way, but
True. But yeah, no, very Gimli vibes too. Yeah.
No, Gimli has the tortured present.
I love Shadow so much. Just like
He's really cool.
everything you need to know about Shadow is encapsulated in the Shadow the Hedgehog game. Like its very existence, as like it's 2005, and Sega is like, hey, we need something to appeal to the youths. What do the youths like? Well, they like new metal and guns and Sonic apparently. Let's
Motorcycles.
it is like watching just, if you haven't seen it yet, go and watch the opening cinematic for the Shadow the Hedgehog game. It is the most 2006 thing to ever exist. And it's like it's a game for kids. It's rated E10 plus. But no, Shadow has his like gun and he's brooding and monologuing and I don't know where I came from or what my past is. What am I doing here? What's my purpose? Pew pew.
And then, like, in the trailer, you maybe see Sonic's lifeless corpse there. I don't
It
know.
does make it look like Shadow has executed Sonic. That is apparently not what's happening in the game, but uh, no, it's like so edgy it becomes ridiculous. But there is also
Like,
like it's also kind of cool still.
even
Yeah.
his color scheme, the black and red with red accents,
Uh,
is like so much of that time period. It's like, yes, that's that's what it is.
Yeah, 2005, 2006, the world was just kind of going through its emo era. Because I'm thinking
yeah,
like all the franchises that went dark around that time, like the Spider-Man movies. At that point, Bionicle 3 was coming out, and
Oh
that
yeah,
was the
yeah.
edgy film.
Revenge of the Sith,
Yeah,
Oh,
Shrek
that's
the Third.
another
Future Fire.
Byronic hero with Anakin Skywalker. Although he's not really a
Mhm.
hero by the end of that.
Kind of a villain. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe
This
Maybe.
Shadow just
like
reminds me of
yeah.
my my favorite ever video game mechanic, which is in Devil May Cry 5. I think it's 5. I don't know. It's the only one I've played. You can play as the character V, who has like a very unique move set. And one of his moves, there is a button you can press what he does is he pulls out a book and starts reading emo poetry. There is a dedicated read emo poetry button. And it is
Love
the
that.
best mechanic I have ever seen in any game.
What does it do against foes?
Oh, I think it like recharges your like attack meter or something. I don't remember. I haven't played it in a little while. I just remember the like satisfaction of you press the button and now he is reading emo poetry.
So great.
That's I need them to make a Sonic or Shadow game with that, like, because they recently released the like Shadow Generations, whatever that is, and I picked it up and I've been playing a little bit of it, and it just doesn't have that like edge to it. It's a little too sanded down.
Mm,
I need my like T-rated Shadow the Hedgehog game.
yeah. Give him a gun again.
Yeah, yeah, I know
He
why
had
he
one for
doesn't
like
have a gun. He has it in the
he had
movie.
a
I'm
gun for like
surprised.
one scene. It was like, oh, he's got a gun and a motorcycle. Like, wow, that's so cool. And
It's
then
great.
after that, it's just it's gone. After that one sequence, it's like, oh, okay, well, it was cool. It lasted,
Yeah, I do
but
think overall it is a positive thing that movies don't have as many guns, especially kids' movies don't have as many guns in them and are more conscious about who holds guns.
Yeah.
I do wish that there was more guns for Shadow to hold.
It's just when he's holding a gun, it's just infinitely funnier because it's
Yeah.
like you made a beloved cartoon hedgehog, and then you made a replica of him, made him emo, and gave him a gun, and that is objectively hilarious.
Uh, yeah, it just reminds me of neither of you have read My Immortal, I assume the infamous Harry Potter fan fiction. But at
I've
one
heard of
point
it.
Voldemort gives the main character is like, I want you to kill Harry Potter, and gives her a gun. It's like, sure, why not? These are magical wizards. They can do spells. Here's a gun. It's like,
It
yeah,
might work
Shadow
better,
the
to be
Hedgehog.
fair.
Shadow the Hedgehog has nuclear powers. He can charge a Death Star by himself, but he needs his gun.
He needs a gun. He can basically teleport with how fast he is
Yeah.
and punch people and nearly kill them with one hit. But yeah, he needs a gun. What if he's tired that day? He wants to just kill someone from a distance.
Maybe. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, the
Oh boy.
existence of Shadow is just such a delightfully weird thing.
Yeah. And I do like that they, upon his introduction, when he and Sonic see each other, they're like, whoa, that's another hedgehog. And there's like a moment between them. And it doesn't last
Yeah.
very long. And I do kind of wish that they had explored it a little bit more because Shadow doesn't know where he's from. Sonic does for the most part. At least he knows who he was raised by. Um, and it would have been cool to see like a little bit of like okay, well, let's compare our stories and like try and figure out our past a little bit more. But I also understand like there wasn't really a good time for that in the movie. And we might get that in
Yeah.
like a follow up or something.
And I know Shadow's like origins in the games are apparently like very convoluted and involve like Lovecraftian deities. So that might have
Yeah.
been outside the scope of this movie. I do hope they make. I just want them to make a PG-13 Shadow the Hedgehog movie. Like not pushing the boundaries PG-13, but like PG-13 so they can get away with a little bit more than they do here.
The best we'll probably get is like a streaming show,
Oh yeah.
like
Yeah.
Shadow and Wade or whatever.
They bring Wade back just for Shadow. It's an ongoing joke that they just bring Wade back for one-off shows.
Or Shadow and Kristen Ritter. I don't know.
I'd watch that.
Well, maybe.
Actually, they could pair him up with Stone. I think him and Stone had some
I
interesting
like that
interactions.
chemistry too. Yeah.
Hmm.
I do think just to touch on Shadow's arc here, I do actually really like how they've constructed it and given him like the way they reveal it. The flashbacks are a little bit like when they're doing the montage of him being happy with Maria over happy music. It's like, okay, I get it. They had this was the like the days of our youth, whatever
Mhm.
they're going for. But I do like the way that they reveal the information and build towards Maria's death, and then that is what has been motivating him this entire time.
Yeah.
And then that he has like the change of heart. He like sits down with Sonic on the moon and is like, "Hey, wait a second. Maybe I need to think of this a little differently."
Yeah. I mean, I was expecting that flashback sequence to be like almost just a jump cut of how it is in the games where like Maria's getting shot, like literally
Yeah.
shot at. I thought it was gonna like flashback cut to that at some random point as like Sonic's having his flashbacks. This is why he's depressed. Here's a hint as to why. And I was fully expecting to like burst out laughing in the theater and have to like cover my mouth and be like, no, I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at the child getting shot. But no, they built to it in a way that was like actually emotional. And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, when she does die, I'm not laughing. I'm actually sad at this. But yeah.
They do also very much go out of their way to not have the soldiers shoot Maria.
Yep. Very much so.
Again, I understand why they're doing these things. I think it is an interesting thing to point out, as this is a corporate product that is trying to have the edgy stuff in it while not being too edgy to no longer be a PG movie.
Right. And all of like the guns that are used are like some form of energy blaster too. It's not bullets.
Yeah, that's why I want my PG-13 Shadow the Hedgehog, so that they can
Yeah.
just go a little bit further. I
Give
don't
them
need
just
them
a
to go like
full-on
full.
deagle, man. Like straight up.
I don't need my R-rated Shadow the Hedgehog. That's too much. No, just
That's probably too
let
much.
him say.
I would watch it though.
I would. Oh yeah, I would 100% watch it. I think at that point you get to do what I find so charming about Shadow is that he is very much like a 12-year-old's idea of edgy and cool.
Yeah.
As opposed to like a
Definitely.
16-year-old's idea of edgy and cool.
Yeah.
That's more like Deadpool is when you get to like 16. No, this is still firmly
Yeah.
rooted in that like child's understanding of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wear black, have highlights, own a gun. Very cool.
Say emo things while staring off into the distance.
Exactly.
You're a colorful bunch. That's the
Revenge
only
guac.
line I remember from the film. Oh yeah, revenge guac. Maria.
We also have Tails and Knuckles here. They've been
They're
officially
there.
downgraded to sidekicks.
Yeah. I do like we have a few like short scenes where like Tails goes off with Stone for a little bit, and that was like
Yeah.
a cute moment. Knuckles, I feel like didn't really have anything that like was really like made him stand out, but he also had a whole TV miniseries, so I'm not
Yeah.
overly upset about that.
I
he
didn't
had the
quite
stuff
feel
with
like
the
the
Chaos Emerald.
show happened in this film. It's like I didn't
We had
watch
Wade.
Knuckles, and Wade is the only thing. He's the only thing
Yeah.
that even mentions that show. But like Knuckles feels the exact same.
Oh yeah, yeah. This
Yeah.
is
Well,
this is
to be
very much
fair,
that.
he didn't really have a character arc in the show. He was like a
To be
little bit
fair,
too
yes.
serious at the start, and then he was unserious by the end. But by the end of the last film, he was already kind of unserious. So
Yes. It's also weird that Knuckles entrusted the Chaos Emerald to Wade.
that was a good bit, actually. Like,
And he's playing like floor hockey with the Chaos
yeah,
Emerald.
By himself.
like, bro.
Yeah.
That was the right way to bring him into this movie as just like a very quick cameo for comedic relief.
Speaking of cameos, you have Rachel.
Yes,
True.
uh, in
Not Rachel,
Maddie
but
as disguise as
yeah.
Rachel. I
Yeah.
was happy to see her. I assumed there would be too much else going on for Rachel to make an appearance, and technically she didn't make an appearance, but
Yeah.
her
The
energy was
character
there.
did not, the actress did, which
Yeah.
I appreciated that they brought both her and uh the actor who played her husband back for this, even if it was just a small section of like, hey, they're in the movie. It was still cute, and it played off of what we learned in the last film with the husband being part of Gun and stuff.
And now apparently
Uh,
Rachel is also part of Gun.
yeah, that
Or she visits for lunch.
yeah, but gets
Oh,
a whole
yeah, that
uniform
was
for it.
yeah. It was just a fun
Uh,
way to bring these characters in. Yeah, I'm glad Tom and Maddie get something to do because I
yeah,
was just assuming they would be in the beginning and end. So having them show up in the
I would
middle was
prefer that, but yeah, sure.
I do think that's the route that they'll probably end up going. I'm not 100% sure on that because I think James Marsden, who plays Tom, it probably has a big say in a lot of the films because he was the like lead actor in the first one. But I would expect that he ends up being kind of just like just kind of like the you know Clark Kent's dad kind of feel where he's
yeah.
there, or I guess mom because the dad dies, but like they're
Depending on
there.
which version, yeah.
Yeah, they're there. When the hero goes back home, they're always welcome and they'll have moments, but like they're not action heroes necessarily.
Yeah, I think
That's what
they
I
found
expect.
a good place for them, at least for now. I do wonder if James Marsden and Tika Sumpter will eventually want a little bit more to do, but maybe not. I mean, they probably get pretty decent paychecks having been with this franchise for a while, so they might not mind showing up for a few days and doing some very simple work and then going back to do other projects.
Yeah, yeah, honestly.
That is what one
Uh,
of the things I enjoy about this franchise, just on a meta level, is I'm getting the sense that since they're bringing in the same creative team and a lot of the same actors, it's just like fun. Let everyone kind of shows up and they get paid and they get another credit on their list. And this maybe isn't the
yeah,
most consequential thing ever made, but everyone's just kind of like everyone's employed and having a good time.
yeah.
My guess for what might happen for the fourth one is that Tom might take even more of a backseat, but Maddie will probably get more screen time so she can parallel Amy in
Mm,
some way.
Oh, that would be smart. Yeah, we do also have Dr. Robotnik here, which, as we were saying before, this is the most complex he has been. We meet him at
true.
his lowest point, or at least the lowest point we have seen him in the franchise so far. He's let himself go after the last movies. He's been hiding away in his robotic crab watching telenovelas.
Hmm.
Eating burritos.
That
Or a
microwave,
singular bite. Yeah, that
that
microwave was
microwave
rough.
drone was, yeah. Uh, but
Uh,
then he gets the thing that he has always secretly wanted, which is a family, a familial
Mhm.
connection here, with his grandfather showing up. Um, and then he gets betrayed by that family and has to choose to do the right thing. I don't know how I feel about his redemption in the end, if it fully gels with his character from the last two movies, but it works for the emotions of this movie, so I'm not too
Yeah.
concerned about that.
I do think this whole movie kind of shifts his perspective from like prior to this, he's just like power, power, power. And even in this film, at the start, he's like, yeah, we're working towards power. But because he gets that familial connection, he's like, wait, this is also a thing that I want. I want this connection. And so
Yeah.
by the end of it, his arc is really cool because he's like, well, yeah, I do want power, but I also, I want that connection too. And destroying the earth is not going to complete either of those objectives.
Yeah.
So
you
let's maybe
can't
not
blow
do
up
that.
the Earth. That's where I keep all my stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like the way his arc plays out in that sense, and like his realization that actually no, he has had these chances for connection with like Agent Stone especially. Um his acknowledgement that Agent Stone has always been there for him.
It's definitely a lot more of like an emphasis on Robotnik realizing their relationship, um, which is cool. Of course, they have the scene at the very end between them
Yeah.
of like, hey, I'm on the billboard closest to you somehow, and maybe no other billboards, or maybe all other billboards. Hard to say, but I'm specifically talking to you, Stone.
Yeah, it's just a very like it feels like a good conclusion to their dynamic throughout this whole series, that Stone is finally getting the recognition that he has desired. And Robotnik is finally realizing that like the thing he was looking for, this human connection, was there all along. As cliche as that idea is.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm
But yeah,
excited to see how that plays out because obviously by the end of this film, it's implied that Robotnik died,
yeah.
which we've seen at least once before now. And I would be very surprised if they're like, yeah, he's actually dead. I feel like they left it up in the air just in case they were like, okay, maybe we might not be able to sell Jim Carrey on this next one, so we could go a different route. But ultimately, I think that he's going to come back, and maybe he finds more of a connection with Stone, and like, I don't know, maybe they bring in Rouge the Bat or something. Um, I could see like him kind of trying to form his own team and still be
Yeah.
like antagonistic to Sonic because he's annoyed by the little blue fur ball. But uh, I think it's going to be more of that team dynamic coming up for his side too if he's back.
Yeah, sort of
I
as
don't
like
know.
maybe like more of a secondary antagonist if he does
Yeah,
show up again, where there's
I don't know if
bigger
I
threats
want him to
going
show
on.
up again because
really.
I know Jim Carrey is like the best part of these films, but I feel like the way they end things off with his character, it's like, okay, we come full circle. He finally gets his game accurate costume. Like,
Uh huh.
where else are you gonna go? Like, how can you top this? It's like, okay, probably leave it there. I don't even know if Carrey wants to come back unless he needs the money again. But
He has said he is open to the idea of returning. This is
well,
from
we'll see.
Wikipedia. He said it in January of 2025. So at some point in the last week, he has
Yeah.
said,
Yeah, I saw the
"Yeah,
interview where he's like, I'm not opposed to it. They just need to give me a good idea. Like I need to be sold on it.
yeah,
Hmm.
Which I think is a valid. Like he's an actor that is old enough and well recognized enough to where like he probably doesn't need to do these films. He's doing it because he enjoys it. and like yeah, he gets paid for it too, but like he could get cast in pretty much any film at this point, and be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah, I think not to get too much into speculation, but I do think the reason they were able to lure him back here was because they offered him the double role. So
Mm,
they may need to come up with another gimmick for him to play in the next one if they're going to want him back.
yeah, that's fair.
Which, yeah, I don't know. I am of two minds about it because I don't disagree with John. I do think the way they bring his arc to a close here is really satisfying. But also, Jim Carrey
Yep.
is so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. This is one of the few times
Yeah.
where I feel like story-wise, it does make the most sense for him to stay dead. And narratively, it makes the most sense. But in my brain, I'm like, yeah, but then we lose out on Jim Carrey, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
I would be okay
I-
with them being cliche and bringing him back again. But I would also be okay if they took a film or two to get back to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm even just like I was gonna save this for later, but since we're going into this now, I could go into this now because this has been a somewhat surprising hit. It premiered the same weekend as Disney's Mufasa, which it actually beat out. Surprisingly,
Mhm.
Mufasa has been slowly making more money, but Sonic is still doing like very, very well. It's I think already one of the top 5 highest grossing video game films of all time, and it's not been out for that
Yeah.
long, and it's not been in international territories. It's been out for even less. So yeah, it's but I do somewhat wonder how much of that is Sonic versus how much of that is Jim Carrey. And if they make a film without Jim Carrey, is that going to be the same kind of success?
Sure. I think
Which
Jim Carrey was
yeah,
really the selling point in those first two films. In this
yeah,
film, he's definitely a selling point, but looking at all the big names that they already have between Idris Elba, Ben Schwartz, Keanu Reeves, like they already have the name power that I think if Jim Carrey is not in the next one, it'll still do well, but they'll have to prove their chops in writing and comedy outside of, using Jim Carrey's like physical comedy as a crutch.
Yeah,
yeah,
Um,
and I think by this point they've introduced enough of the classic characters where they can probably maintain a film with just these characters.
yeah.
yeah.
I do. Part of me though still does wonder. What about is there an audience of specifically like parents or older relatives who are showing up to these movies with like maybe the family's going, but then grandpa tags along because he's a Jim Carrey fan
Mm,
rather than it
maybe.
just being like so I don't know. I don't know where that falls. I haven't done any research into it if anyone's like sometimes they'll ask those types of questions in like as people are walking out of the theater. So I don't know if they have, but I
They'll
am
just like
curious to see what
cast a
the
Jim Carrey style actor.
that is what I hope they don't do. I hope if they're going to bring in a replacement, they find someone who is like Carrie Ells in the Knuckles show,
Yeah.
where it's someone who is very, very talented, but has a sort of different energy and isn't like, yeah, I don't know who even is the Jim. I guess Kevin Hart. That's who comes to mind first. If they're like, the next movie is going
Well,
to be Kevin Hart is going to be the Dr. Robotnik equivalent.
also like a classic actor like Jim Carrey was popular at some points, like also Carrie Ellis is, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Although he feels like a bit of a more indie talent or like he isn't a big name in the same way. So he has a different kind of credibility behind him. As opposed to like let's bring in Rebel Wilson or some like big name comedy actor who is like known for being a comedic star.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's fair.
oh,
I don't know.
Adam Sandler.
Adam
Adam
Sandler.
Sandler would be a fun choice to bring in. I would be
Uh,
I would be down for
I think he could do it. He would just have to like. I don't think he would because he's very much about like he likes his creative control over it, and I don't want
Yeah.
the Sonic movies to be an Adam Sandler movie. I
Yeah,
just don't
that's
think that would work.
fair. Oh
Uh,
yeah, Agent Stone. Speaking of people who might be in the future of the franchise, I thought this was a really smart use of this character. He's kind of Robotnik's equivalent to the Maria or Tom characters for Shadow and Sonic, respectively, and that it's the connection back to humanity
yeah,
rather than like a bigger sense of like duty to the entire world. There's like this one character that is an anchor.
yeah, and they use him in a really good way. Like the character in and of himself was like initially very much like just a jokey like henchman character, but
Yeah,
in this one he works really well as like you see how much he's stepped up, even in just his intro scene of like, oh, he's another cool dude on a bike that can hold his own.
yeah,
He has been taking care of Robotnik. He's watching him. You can tell that he has a strong connection with Robotnik, even if Robotnik doesn't uh, realize. But he himself is just like such a good character. And then on top of that, in the end, he is kind of a big part of why the world is saved because he tips Eggman off to, hey, like, they're going to blow up the whole planet kind of
yeah,
thing. Maybe you should look into this. And I think that's good. I think
yeah. No,
he
they
serves his role really well.
after the last movie maybe underutilizing him, it was nice to see how much they were focusing on him here.
Yeah,
And yeah,
just a
it
great
does make
character.
me, yeah, it does make me curious. I think he could potentially sustain a movie of him without Jim Carrey being involved.
Mm,
I think he is interesting enough at this point that he could anchor something a little.
I agree.
Like you
I think
probably need to bring,
it'd be a weird spot to put him in because while
yeah,
he has been in the like villain role, he's also in and of himself not particularly villainous. He seems to
yeah.
be like,
I'm not even saying like as the villain, but just as like the human character who gets the most to do.
okay, yeah.
I don't know if he's I don't think the actor is quite well known enough to be name above the title the way Chip Carey is, but
No, definitely not. But yeah,
yeah.
no, I could definitely see him popping up in the next film and like, I don't know, maybe he's working for Gunn again or
Yeah.
I don't know. But I like him as a character. I like his actor. I've seen his actor in a few like interviews and stuff, and he seems just like a really cool guy who's very excited about his role and uh the franchise as a whole. So it just seems cool.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll shave his head and don a mustache. Who knows?
That could be an interesting take. He just loses it and he's like, "No, I am Robotnik now."
I mean, that does maybe feel like the logical next step for his character.
Maybe.
But yeah, we'll have to see. I assume if they make another one, he's going to be involved in some form.
I certainly hope so. I like him a lot.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Now we also have our villain here, Professor Robotnik, the elder of the two. He's just a
Yeah.
fun new addition. Like he's fun, but he has just like a little bit more menace than Dr. Robotnik does.
Yeah. He's interesting because like obviously they're both Jim Carrey, but they
Yeah.
do a good job with the makeup to make him look not just older, but like he's a little bit like flabbier around the chin. He's got more of like a squarish uh chin shape to him that
Mhm.
like distinguishes him enough to even if like you're just looking at them side by side while they're wearing the same outfit, which happens, it's not
Yeah.
just the color of their mustache that distinguishes them, but like the whole facial look, which I liked.
Yeah, they do a really
Um,
good job. I'll talk about it in the performance as well, but you do get the sense that these are two very distinct characters.
yeah, yeah. I think the Professor Robotnik is an interesting character because it is kind of like that dark mirror reflection of this is what Dr. Robotnik could become if he was just so obsessed with power or so obsessed with revenge. Which is, it's very tropey, but they do it in a way that really works for their character growth, both Robotniks. And so I didn't feel like it was contrived, even if it was tropey.
Yeah, and they do a very good job with his motivation. Specifically, like the shot of him crying over Maria's body is
Mm-hmm.
like surprisingly powerful. Like it feels like we're seeing the only unguarded moment in his entire life because he's such a theatrical character. But
Yeah.
in that one shot, we just get the sense of like, oh, she meant so much to him, and this has just shattered his world entirely.
That was
Yeah.
my only issue with this character was his motivation, because
Really.
outside of her death scene, they'd never had any interaction with each other. I like until you mentioned it here, I had no indication that they were at all related or anything.
Oh,
He never refers to her as his granddaughter in any future scene. Uh, so I was confused in the film, like why he was crying over this girl's body when they never shared a scene. That I never heard anything where it's like, okay, she's related to the girl. It's never brought up again. And so when he has that whole evil motivation to destroy the earth over Maria's death, I'm like, I feel like this could have been set up much better than what it was, because I have no feeling from him over Maria. Like I feel like I'm missing so many things, like scenes
Mm.
with how they're set it up. Just like I guess one scene of him talking to Maria would have done the job, but I never got any of that, so I felt like his motivation was just unfinished.
They were definitely like playing on the fact that they were trying to hide that he was, uh, you know, another Jim Carrey for a long
yeah.
time. Like they hid his face for a long portion of that. There were a few things that, like, for me, made the connection pretty obvious that they were that Maria and he were related. Specifically at the beginning, where it introduces Maria, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this, she's allowed to be here. She's, the granddaughter of the scientist." Uh, and that was like oh, okay, this is knowing, because going into it, I knew that there were two Robotniks. I got spoiled on that. Not that they were really trying to hide that in the press, but I was like, oh, okay, so this is the connection here. Okay, I understand. Um, I felt like it was somewhat established, but you're right that it wasn't very verbose. Like like they could have made it more obvious.
Right, because that line you're talking about, it was more of a throwaway line of dialogue that if you weren't really paying attention to like the importance of a line like that, it wouldn't catch at all, like that they were
Yeah.
related in any way.
Yeah, that's interesting to me because I went in already knowing the backstory. So
Mm,
that didn't even register for me that they hadn't set it up super in depth.
yeah.
So yeah, that I think that is an important thing to bring up, that maybe there is something, a scene or two missing there to just clarify certain things with his motivation, because I do think once you know that, you understand his perspective. Like not
Sure.
like you don't
Yeah,
agree with his perspective, but you get where he's coming from. and why he
Yeah,
is going to such extreme lengths.
it makes much more sense that he would want to destroy the Earth for his granddaughter than some random child that hung out with Shadow.
Yeah. And I also think like it, I guess it's never explicitly said, but I always got the vibe that like the reason why Maria died was his fault more than just like he was trying to run away with them, but maybe he specifically was lying to them and was like, "Yeah, I'm just going to try and break you out and use you for my own gains." Um
There was definitely, I don't think they say anything, but there seems to have been something weird going on with Professor Robotnik. He clearly had ulterior motives even that early. So there's a reason they're running away.
yeah.
I don't know if they ever specifically say anything. But yeah, no,
No, the
I
only
think
thing
you're
that
right
he
to
says
identify
is
that.
like they're gonna separate the two, but
Yeah.
I always felt like that was probably like a lie or something, but they never brought it up again. I guess another reason why I never really caught on that Maria was related was because he never mentions Maria to the other Robotnik, really. It's like, you had like a stepsister or something, and
Yeah.
that
Cousin,
Yeah.
child
maybe.
died. Yeah,
I don't know
I
what
don't
the
know.
family tree
Except at
looks like.
yeah, me neither. At the very end he says like you were no Maria, but that's as close as we get to that.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you're right. It does feel like there should be more of a like momentous thing, like yeah, you're nothing like your sister that I loved more than you, I guess, or cousin, or
Something.
clone. I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he was a fun villain here.
Yeah.
Hmm.
We don't really have many other major characters we haven't at least touched on a bit. I mean, obviously there's the Kristen Ritter character, but we did bring her up already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. A lot of there was also like the military general guy, which
Yeah.
I believe it's the same guy that they introduced in Sonic One. I wasn't expecting to see him
Yes.
all
Yeah.
that much, but he's made appearances in the last two Sonics, or in all of the Sonic movies at this point. So I was like, oh, that's cool. And it was cool to see like flashback to younger version of him, and I appreciated that the narrative of the backstory is told through biased perspectives up until the
Yeah.
end, which included like at first it's like, oh yeah, this guy is a terrible, terrible person. We hate him because he trapped Sonic, or he trapped Shadow, and has been kind of a nuisance to Sonic and the team. And then at the end, it's like, okay, well, actually, he was a pretty decent guy, and he had to make a hard decision about what to do with Shadow, and specifically chose not to kill him. So maybe he was a decent guy, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they do give him something more to do here than I was expecting.
Yeah,
Is he he's dead, right?
I
I'm pretty
think
sure he's dead.
so.
I think it's very heavily implied that he's
Yeah.
dead. Um,
He's another one. Tom Butler plays the older Commander Walters. I would not be surprised if he shows up in the next one. Just because he showed up
Maybe.
in all of the other ones so far.
yeah. Then again, like whatever they're doing with like the whole Amy thing, that could be like a split timeline. That could be time travel. That could be, you never know. So he could be alive in that universe if there's multiple universes.
Yeah.
I don't know anything
Who
about Sonic,
knows?
so I can't say.
Same. I'm making speculation.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I gave the characters here a 3.5 out of 5. I like the arcs and the betrayals and all of that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. I also gave it a 3.5. I think, the cast is large, and so it can be kind of hard. But the fact that they had three characters that had pretty solid arcs throughout, I thought was, you know, pretty solid, above average.
I gave it to 3.
Well, yeah, onto the visuals. The live action stuff here looks so much better than it has in the other two movies.
Very,
Like,
very much agree.
there are colors.
Yes.
It doesn't
Mhm.
look like TV anymore. I am so impressed.
The
Some
one moment
shots
that I,
are better than others, but yeah.
for sure, I think the shots that included the dog made it really. There's a higher contrast of like, oh, this is a fake animal and this is a real animal. And
Yeah.
so those were some moments when I'm like, okay, it's definitely CGI. But there were a lot of moments where they did like full CGI shots that really blended the two together. Um, like it- various shots of Sonic running full speed through the city. I watched, and obviously your eyes are like focused on Sonic, but I was like, okay, I'm really intrigued at how they shot this. Is this just full CGI? And so I looked at the background, and if you look in the background, you're like, oh, these buildings are not all that detailed. This is full CGI. But it blends it well enough when they like finish the running sequence that you don't really notice unless you're looking for it. So I think they did a good job just overall with visual effects to, even if it's not perfect, they did a good job of making me notice the imperfections less,
Yeah.
which is half the battle, I think.
And there's just like so many cool ideas and designs here. Shadow just has a fun design as a
Yeah.
character. He's Sonic but
Yep.
emo. The
Yep.
space station, I was so excited when the space station showed up because that's just like
Mm-hmm.
a fun thing from the games that I was not sure if they would ever bring into the movies. So that was exciting. I did notice with Shadow there was like a little bit of weirdness with his mouth when he was talking. I don't know how to quantify what I was seeing or if it was even like that big of a deal.
I
I-
I agree. I think it might just be the lip sync was off or something, but it wasn't. It There were moments where I was like, this is not. It feels like the voice is not coming from the character all the time.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It could honestly just be like Keanu Reeves is giving a very muted performance and Shadow's
Mm,
design is very like big and cartoony. So
Yeah.
maybe there's a disconnect there.
It could be the thing that Keanu Reeves in a lot of his performance is like very. He's not a very animated person, so he's like
sure.
very quiet to himself. Even in the like John Wick films, he doesn't say a whole lot of stuff, and his mouth doesn't like go really wide. Unlike Shadow,
True.
who is a cartoon character who is animated, and so that could be just like a subtle thing of you're thinking of the actor and the character differently, or maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I don't know
really
either.
like the action scenes here though. Like the Tokyo scene, the lighting is just so good. The like neon, I mean Tokyo is a fun setting anyway, but they did a really good job with the lighting playing with the characters and the different, I mean it really highlights the powers when you're setting
Yeah,
everything in the dark and then all of the energy is colored and bright.
makes the
Yeah,
motorcycle chase cooler.
Yeah.
true.
Shadow Akira slides his bike up the side of a tower.
Yeah, that was so hype. There are
That
so
is
many, like the action sequences in this movie got me so excited. Between like the multiple bike scenes and
Yeah,
uh the fights between the rodent creatures, um the way that Sonic, or the way that Shadow like essentially teleports when he's
yeah.
fighting is super cool. It's just all like visually they kicked it up a notch and then kicked it up a notch again.
yeah. Even more so once both Sonic and Shadow become the super version of themselves. That was that was like the one thing I was thinking. It's like, okay, if there's one thing I want to see in this film, it's that, and they did it. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
yes, and the fight was super cool, going around the planet. they're in space. It's just
When
like, ah, yes, it's cool.
I
Yes.
think it's like Sonic like pushes off from a volcano, and like the force is so much that it forces a crack in the earth to open, and like lava's like coming out of it because he's just like, yeah, that is like
It's sick.
that is what I was like, oh, I wish I had seen this in like IMAX or something. I don't think it was even played in IMAX. But just like the biggest screen possible for those moments. And then
Mhm.
there's
Yeah.
like such creativity because you also have like the gravity floor sequence. I don't know if that's a reference to something in the games. It just kind of like
It's
comes out
a.
of
Yeah.
nowhere.
I mean, it's such a video game mechanic to have
Oh yeah,
to do. So it's like,
but it
ah,
ends up being
okay,
like so fun how they're able to choreograph all of this weird
yeah.
stuff going on. And the
Hmm.
lights of it, the way the
Yeah.
lights, I don't know, it's very like high production value. And then you have just Jim Carrey and Kristen Ritter scooting across the floor towards the key.
Yeah,
They are
that's good.
selling the physical part of that so well. Yeah.
Yeah, even
No,
like
it's
the
Yeah.
sequence prior, the dance sequence with the
oh, the
lasers,
dance sequence.
using the costumes as disco balls is such a funny idea.
I thought it was a bit much, but it was so on par with what they were doing with the other films. It's like, okay, well, they have to have a dance sequence, I guess. It
I
was
think it
ridiculous.
being a bit much is like the gimmick of it though, because I
Yeah.
remember bursting out laughing, turning to the other people that watched it with me, and like we were cracking up, and then it just kept going and going, and we're like, when is
Yeah.
this gonna stop? We have no idea.
Uh, and like the two Robotniks here, we have Jim Carrey in a dual performance, and I didn't notice any mix-ups at all. Like
No.
they did such a good job stitching the two performances together, and there's a lot of interactions
Yeah.
between the two. It felt like the creators were definitely flexing their ability to do just like when they first both showed up on screen. I was like, okay, well, I understand the rules of this. They're going to stay on their own side of the screen for the most part, and you know they'll do back and forth and try and make it look like they're in the same shot, but they're never gonna like do anything too complicated. And then they're like interacting with each other so much, and like I could
Yeah.
still definitely see, okay, they are trying to keep things simple for most things, but no, they are they have this giant dance scene where the two of them are on screen interacting, doing dance moves together for 2 minutes.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. I love that we finally got the video game accurate costume for the character. It's one thing
Me
that I was
too.
like waiting for the three films. It's like, ah, yes, I love like accurate costumes for live action characters. Like, I think that you should really do more of that because they do look cool when you actually put the care into it. And so when the costumes showed up, I was like, they're doing it, and it looks so good. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of film companies seem to like have this fear of like, oh, well, the costume isn't that realistic, so how do we get the character to put it on, or how do we like justify getting to that point? And it's like we as the fans don't care. But frankly, we know that they're going to get to that point. It's just as ridiculous to call the character Wolverine as it is to put him in yellow spandex. We're fine with it. Don't worry.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I really liked, and I liked the design of the like actual, like, I don't even know, the jacket coat thing that the
Yeah.
Robotniks wear. I'm like, that looks cool. They made it they made it HD realistic, and put some really good design into it. Just visually
yeah. It's
very
it's a
pretty.
really good adaptation. That's always like the tough thing of any cartoon or video game or comic book with a more cartoonish visual style and translating that into live action. Um, they do a good job giving it like texture, which is
Yeah.
something I think often gets lost in the translation.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I was very impressed. This felt like a leveling up on all fronts for the visuals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It it was just so visually like interesting the whole way through. Even beyond like just saying, yeah, the CGI looked realistic. It was like their use of colors and lights just made it look very interesting the whole way through.
Yeah, and like this film included a lot of things that I really wanted to see, like the costume. I mean, Shadow had a motorcycle and a gun at one point, like as short as it was like, ah, cool. We got to see the super versions of Sonic and Shadow. And in the mid credit scene, we got to see the Metal Sonic and Amy, two characters that were like, okay, if they were gonna do a mid credit for this one, those were my two guesses, and they did both of them. I was like, oh, both of them, cool. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
gave the animation a 4 out of 5. This is a real leveling up across the board that I was so happy to see after complaining in the last few episodes about the
yeah.
visuals looking a bit
I
too TV. This is so cinematic. It looks better than Mufasa. I will say it.
I gave it a 3.6.
Interesting. I gave it a 4.5. I was very pleased with this. Like, just visually across the board, a lot of fun. I'm a sucker for the like neon Tokyo aesthetic, which they used for a large portion of it. Uh, I think it was just good. I like the visuals.
Yeah. Next up, we have the performances. A lot of these performances, like I don't have new thoughts on Ben Schwartz or Idris
Yeah.
Elba. Like they're doing the roles that they do pretty well. Um,
Hmm.
Jim Carrey as phenomenal dual role.
Hmm.
They are very different characters, and yet you still get that like connection between the two of them, the familial relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They do a
I
really
was
good
I was
job.
very impressed.
Yeah. Like we mentioned earlier, like they do a good job distinguishing who is who. And yes, there were absolutely moments when I'm like, that is just two Jim Carreys on the screen. And then there were moments when I was like so engrossed with the performances that I was like, no, that is good Robotnik and evil Robotnik, and they're fighting now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think Jim Carrey is one of those actors that kind of has the reputation of he always kind of plays himself. So giving
Yeah.
him a dual role where you see there are variations of that. These are still very like Jim Carrey characters, but he has
Yep.
different levels there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keanu Reeves as Shadow, great fit for the role. I am not the biggest fan of some of his line readings, but he just is like, yeah, that's who you get to play Shadow.
Yeah. And I was a little bit worried going into it because I was like, I know I've seen Keanu Reeves movies. Most of the time he puts on no voice. It's just him. He just says the words. And normally that's enough. And that probably would have been enough. But I think he really did give it enough of a voice to be distinct from his own while still utilizing the best parts of his voice for Shadow. And I thought that was really good.
I felt that he did his voice acting voice. He has done a couple animated films in this past decade. One was this Legion of the Super Pets, and the other
Oh
one was a
yeah.
SpongeBob film. Both,
And he did
all
Toy
three.
Story 4.
Yeah, a lot of them sound
Um,
similar. This this
that's
one,
fair.
yeah. I mean, this one being edgy, I can give it a pass. But sure,
Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
I didn't like hear anything like special or different in his performance.
I just liked
Fair.
hearing Keanu Reeves in this role. I think that was a fun choice for who to play the character.
You're,
So
you're a colorful bunch.
we also have new addition here, Kristen Ritter, who we've talked about, playing director Rockwell. That's her character's name, apparently.
Yeah.
She is just like I haven't seen much of her comedy work, but she is just so good in what she is doing here, of sort of a bit of a drier comedy, but still very, very comedic. Like she fits well, which I wouldn't have expected. Like when she shows up in the beginning, I'm like, yeah, she feels a little out of place, but no, she slots in perfectly with the comedic sensibilities here.
Yeah. No, it works out really well because it plays into both the like stiffness of her being a government person, but also like she's got these good facial expressions that really add
Yeah.
to the humor. Even at the very end when she has to give up the like key, she like gives it up, but also has kind of like a bit of a like I don't know, moody like teenager vibe of like a fine, I guess I'll give it up.
Yeah, no,
I
she is
wish that they
phenomenal.
did more with her in this
I do
film.
Me
too.
too. But if we've learned nothing from the Sonic franchise, it's that they are good at building off of what they've done and using what they've done to set up other things. And so I
Sure,
wouldn't be
yeah.
surprised if we see her again.
Yeah.
And I would be very excited for that actually.
Also, very interesting to note that Amy had no voice at the end credit scene, so
Yeah.
it's
I
I
probably
wonder
mean,
who
meaning
they're
that we're
gonna
going to get a big name for the next one.
maybe.
Anya Taylor Joy.
Scarlett
I
Johansson.
mean, maybe. But like,
Those
I
would
don't
be
think
the
Tails had a
worst
voice.
choices.
I don't think
No,
Tails
Tails
had
did have a
a voice in the
line
first.
after
Yeah,
Sonic.
Tails did have a
Oh,
line, yeah.
really?
After credit scene.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Interesting.
I yeah, I'm curious to see. I think I hope they don't go with the Anya Taylor Joy or Scarlett Johansson routes. I think those are the wrong direction to go. But there are some celebrities I could see. Though I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind if they brought in a voice actor, or like the voice
I
actor
Yeah.
who plays the character in the games.
I don't know if they want to do another one of those. I don't know.
Yeah,
Hollywood's
probably
pretty
not.
weird.
Maybe. Although, like, I really like I appreciated Colleen O'Shaughnessy's voice in this film. I think, to be fair, Tails has such a specific voice in general
Yeah.
Yeah.
that I'm glad that they went with her. But beyond that, like, it really tied. Like, she did a great job with the character in this film. I think there was a little bit more depth, especially in that Tails and Stone scene. Um, and I think just adds more of that traditional Sonic flavor to the film. That is, they're like inching closer and closer to the vibes of like a full Sonic video game. And so
Yeah.
I think they could very well do um like have another like voice actor as Amy, and I would be excited about that myself, just because her voice is also uh pretty iconic, I would say.
Yeah. I do want to point out I just pulled up a Screen Rant article of Amy Rose casting ideas. Number
Uh-huh.
9, Anya Taylor Joy.
Uh-huh.
At that yeah, she would be the wrong
At
fit
this
for
point,
that
it might even be Chris Pratt. We'll see.
character. Honestly, I've seen
Aquafina.
Chloe Grace Moretz did
Yeah.
really good in Nimona, so that would I would not hate if she was here. Oh, the top two
Ooh.
choices are actresses who have played the character in games or animated
Of
media before.
course.
So I question why Anya Taylor Joy is on this list, but I mean she's a popular
She
actress.
could
She's
do
very
it.
good in live action. I think she was the wrong choice for Princess Peach. That I'll leave it at that. She's a good choice for live action Princess Peach.
Fair enough.
Natasha Rothwell, she's back as Rachel. I was so excited to see her.
Yay. Yeah.
She's
Or
in the new
kind of
season of White
Rachel.
Lotus as well,
Huh.
which she was in the first season, so I am
I
excited.
wasn't expecting her because she wasn't on the IMDb when we looked her up the last time,
Oh
but
yeah,
she was here.
yeah. I was excited. She is an actress who, like, I don't follow her career, but anytime she pops up, I'm like, oh, you were awesome on White Lotus, and I'm glad to see you here. And now you were awesome in Sonic 2. and
Yeah,
Sonic 1.
yeah. Some of the people that I went to see Sonic 3 with haven't seen Sonic 2, and they've seen the first one, but they're like, yeah, I just never got around to the second one. And I was like, okay, look, realistically, you probably already understand the plot well enough for Sonic 2, even not having seen it. However, there's a major plot line, and I didn't tell them the plot line, but there's a major plot line where Rachel is just the star of that plot line. And the fact that, like, everybody that I've talked to that's seen Sonic the Hedgehog 2 has not seen the twist of, oh, she's been dating this guy, getting married to this guy, and secretly he was an agent for Gun, and that's a major plot line. And nobody that I've talked to has like seen that coming. And I'm like, that is it's just a fun
Yeah.
twist. I don't know. So I will always advocate for Sonic 2 specifically for that
Okay.
funny weird twist.
I'm glad that that is my favorite part of Sonic 2. So
Yeah.
yeah, Lee Majub is back as Agent Stone. Again, he's
Ugh,
great in this role. He just fits so
fantastic.
perfectly in with this world. I will be very glad if he comes back in another movie.
Big agree.
Hmm. Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave the performance here a 4 out of 5. I thought everyone did a very good job.
I gave it a 3.
I give it a 4. I think everybody did what they were supposed to be doing. Jim Carrey definitely is influencing my number on that a lot. But I don't think anybody did poorly. And there were a lot of characters in this film, so like
Yeah.
that's pretty solid that none of them did poorly.
Yeah, onto sound. I
Sound.
like the score here. I noticed it more than I have with the other movies. I thought it did. Maybe it was just seeing it in a theater, but it really enhanced the emotions when it needed to.
Yeah. They so they did a lot of bringing in like specifically live and learn. Like you hear that at the most hype parts of the film, which is
Yeah.
what they should have done, and I'm glad they did it. It got me very hyped up as somebody that has rarely engaged with Sonic, but at least knows that song. I was like, "Hey, that's there. I get it. I get it. This is great." There's also a moment at the very beginning where Maria Robotnik is like playing the guitar, and the song that she's playing is like one of the Sonic themes. And I don't
Oh,
remember if it is like Live and Learn or if it's something else. But I was like, oh, that's clever. I really like that. Um, yeah, just all of the sound was good. They didn't really use, to my knowledge, any like game sound effects, which I really like when they do. But I also understand they don't want to like shoehorn them in, and I don't know if there's any spot where they could have put them in this film as easily.
yeah.
Uh,
So I don't know.
Another thing that they did for this film is that they brought in some internet musicians to come and create like original songs for sequences and such.
Oh, really?
But I don't think they ended up utilizing much or any of them. I know, Jay, that I
Mm,
sent you one of those songs from a
Yeah.
creator that I was familiar with. They were like, "Oh, we were part of this process, but ultimately we didn't go in." So that was unfortunate. Anyway,
Yeah. I don't know how that would have worked out. I am just checking on Wikipedia to see if they have information about that, but I don't not seeing it concisely enough to. I'd have to read the actual article. Um, yeah, I just appreciated that there weren't that many needle drops.
hmm
I think they've done a good job with this franchise of doing well enough with the needle drops to make them not annoying, and usually they fit pretty well. But Yeah, I appreciated that this one had even fewer than I think previous movies have had. I will say the song over the montage of Maria and Shadow frolicking about the base and their idyllic whatever amount of time they spent together, that was maybe a little bit heavy-handed. I don't remember what song it was. It is a needle
I
drop. Though.
don't remember anything. It's been a few weeks.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, and the music that they used for the when they were in Japan to start with the cafe, forget what the little
Ah,
creatures are called. That
Oh
was a lot
yeah,
of fun.
the Chow
The
creatures, the
chows,
like little
that's what
Chow
it is.
cafe. Yeah,
Yeah, that that was fun.
that sequence was a lot of fun. Just very
It is
cute.
there's something hilarious about watching like a mascot having to run away in an emergency situation. Just like the whole blow up, like, oh no, I'm panicking, but I can't use my hands right now. Oh, it gets me every time.
yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed. Yeah, I enjoyed the sound overall.
Yeah.
I gave the sound a 4 out of 5.
I didn't really notice the sound too much, so I gave it a 3.
I gave I gave it a 4.25 for the live and learn. I'm a
Mm.
sucker for it.
Which leaves me with a total score of 15.6, which is a 62.4% or 3.12 5-star rating.
And I have a 19 out of 25, which is a 76% or a 3.85 star rating.
And I gave it a 19.75 out of 25,
Ooh.
which is a 79% or a 3.95 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is just a really fun. It feels like bringing this creative team back over and over again, they've really managed to refine what works with these Sonic movies and turn it into something that is just very exciting to sit down at a theater and watch.
Yeah. This third one was like exciting and worth doing our little podcast series to watch the other ones for. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. I know sometimes we get to the end of these and it's like, oh, why did we do this? But no, this one felt like a good a peak of what has been achieved thus far with Sonic, at least in terms of movies.
Yeah. And of course, they've officially announced a fourth one,
Yep,
which is like, oh, that's curious. But also, I'm like,
2027,
oh,
I think.
but like, 3 is like a perfect number.
It
Yeah, I think they will
this could have
make.
been a good finale, but I'm
Yeah,
also glad that they're making more because they've just been getting better each time, and I want to see
yeah,
how high they
Right.
can go.
yeah. I am definitely excited to see what the next one is and how it
Maybe
builds on everything
they'll have
else.
the Lovecraftian monster.
Yeah, I want to see them go weirder, but I
Yeah,
don't know. I don't know how weird they're gonna take it.
Right.
who's
Well,
to say?
I guess that's all we're going to have for this time. And with that, thank you everyone for listening, and make sure to follow us on social media. We're Binging Barbie Podcast on Instagram and Tumblr, Binging Barbie on Twitter and Serialized, and Binging Barbie, a Barbie movie podcast on Letterboxd. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a 5-star review and go join our Patreon at patreon.com/Binging Barbie Podcast.
Toa, where can people find you?
You can find me most frequently on twitch.tv/telelegend. I stream Thursday nights at 10 p.m. EST most weeks. And also on youtube.com/telelegend.
We will be back next week with a short episode going over our rankings of the Sonic movies. And until then, there is no such thing as a friendly ghost.
So true.
Hi, Sonic.
You're a
Bye,
colorful
Sonic.
bunch.